Yo, what is up, YouTube? Kyrios here, and today we're going to go over a tier list for Binah Extreme, or wherever you are, hardcore, very hard. This should be able to help you out. And we're going to separate this video into two parts, one being the tier list, and two being the teams that I'm going to bring in there. If you do need help with the mechanics on Binah, I do have a guide on it that I've done before. Should be somewhere above my head. Feel free to click on that. So without further ado, if you guys can, hit that subscribe button. If you do like my content, hit that like button if you do like this video as you're watching it, and let's go. All right, guys. Okay, here we go. We're going to make a tier list for Binah Extreme. Now, I do want to point this out. I'm going to be very pick and choosy about what goes in the S rank. We're going to try and keep that S rank down to about 8, anywhere between 7 to 9 students. And then just realize that anyone I put in the A rank are perfectly replacements for your A squad, aka your S rank squad, or for your secondary squad. And depending on when you're watching this video and when you're trying Binah Extreme, you may have to use 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 teams. I think I'm going to have to use 4 teams and bring in my hero team even to do that. So let's get started with where we're at. Let's talk about the 2 staples that are really key to making a one team Binah Extreme. First one being Maki. Maki is absolutely amazing. She is a defense breaker. She has an insane attack increaser for her EX skill. And then she does more damage to anyone she marks from her sub skill. And one of the things I should point out is that Binah is very key on stacking defense breakers, but only certain defense breakers will stack. You know, someone like Akane with a Summer Azusa, with a Maki, all 3 of those defense breakers would stack, but an Azusa and a Maki's defense breakers would not stack. So Maki is very key, and I'm not going to get too in the weeds of a lot of these characters because I want to keep this video as short as I can. So the next one we have up on the list is Karine. Now, she has an EX skill that does extra damage to extra large targets. So Binah is an extra large target, and the raid boss is an extra large target. She's going to be especially really good here. Next up, we have on the list, and one I highly suggest that everyone puts a lot of resources into and tries to get her to the 5-star, because you use her in hero, and you use her here, and you use her in a lot of raids, is Akane. Akane brings a defense breaker, and she's not really a tank. She doesn't have a bag, right? But you can get her HP upwards, you know, with T5 gear, maybe when we get to T6 here, in the 30,000 range, which makes it so she can take a decent hit or a decent amount of hits with minimal amount of healing for X amount of time. So that's going to be a really big strategy going forward as we do a lot of these extremes. All right, next up on the list, and now this is a character isn't out at the time of this recording, but if you're watching this later, definitely paste her in there, is Summer Azusa. And Summer Azusa is going to allow you to do that defense breaker stacking. So Maki's, Summer Azusa's, and Akane's defense breakers are all going to stack. Actually, before we get to healer, I'm going to throw one other student that isn't here too that makes a really big difference, is Akko. And Akko allows your Maki to just go completely bananas. Now, there is another character that allows your Maki to go completely bananas too. It's Shinatsu Onsen version, the hot spring version. I don't know if I'm going to put her on the list because she's really far away, and even putting Akko and Summer Azusa on this list right now is pretty far away, but she's a great person to be able to plug in there to do some extra DPS for your Maki. Let's talk about, you're going to need a little bit of healing for this fight, depending on how much damage you have. So we're probably going to need some healing. So we're going to throw some staples on the board, right? Depending, you can use a combination of Hane, Serena, and for the last one, and this one allows you to do a lot of damage as well, is going to be Midori, right? And so Midori does a decent amount of damage, but when you don't bring her sister with her, if you don't bring her twin with her, she's not gonna get that. She's not gonna get that dot damage, which is okay. She still does a lot of damage because all 5 hits hit Binah, but you're really bringing her for that sub skill or that one of the 3 sub skills where you have that healing, and that little bit of healing is just enough to keep your Akane alive or to keep someone else alive while you're going through it. Now, it's not enough to keep them alive for 4 minutes, but if you're starting to get to a really good one team where you're doing it in I don't know, 3.5 minutes or 3 minutes, right? That can definitely help you out there. Okay, and so I'm going to throw Onsen Shinatsu in there too, because the idea here is that Maki is going to be your Binah killer. Karin's going to help a lot too, but Maki's really going to be that staple. She's the one that's going to do millions and millions of damage if you can front load her. So bringing supports like Akko and Shinatsu, right, are going to be very good. And the final one that we have for S rank would be Chirino. Now, Chirino is a great addition to Binah and a great addition to a lot of different team fights because she brings that crit resistance down debuff. And what that does, it allows your characters to crit more on Binah or any boss that you're doing, allowing to do more damage. Now, you're not going to use her EX skill here, and you're not going to use most people's EX skill here ever, except for Maki's and Karin's and Akane's. All right, now we're going to talk about our A rank. So now remember, if you don't have some of these characters in S rank, you want to sub up some of these characters from A rank, or if you're going in with 2 teams for extreme, this is when you want to start pulling people from your A rank. Now, first up on the list is actually someone who should be in S rank, but you're not going to be able to use her CP a lot if you're doing an optimized squad up above, like with Chirino, Maki, and Akane, so that. But Yori is amazing. She's absolutely amazing. Now, she's not affinity to outdoors and urban, so that does help hurt her a little bit, but she's, no matter what, she does a lot of damage. She's definitely going to be in my second team as I try and blow through extreme and hopefully get through extreme this rotation. So next up on the list is Neru, and Neru is a great addition, a DPS frontliner for Binah. Now, there's a couple of frontliners that are really good here. You can use Hoshino and you can use Tsubaki, or Tsubaki's a tank, but you could use a few others. But I think I'm going to place them a little bit lower. Not that they're bad, but you would, if you don't have Neru, you would sub them up, right? And that's the whole point of this guide, is that you would sub them up. Next up on the list, we do have Pina. Pina is great for Binah. She's great single target damage. She's also great if you don't have Maki, or really great for a secondary team. Now, hear me out on this one. So depending on how many Millennium students you have, always bring more penetration students you have. But I'm actually going to put Azusa in this A squad because she does bring that defense breaker that Maki has. Now, do remember that you cannot bring Azusa and Maki together because they're going to wash each other. And you're not really going to use Azusa's skill. She's really just coming in for additional support with that defense down to help your other characters do more damage. Next up, what we have on the list is Hibiki. Hibiki's great. Once again, you're probably not really using the EX skill very often, but you're bringing her for that crit damage increase for your team. Very, very useful. Another one I'm putting on the bucket is Koharu. Now, so this one's a little bit tricky because Koharu you really want on your secondary team if you're going in with multiple teams. Because as that ATP starts to increase as you go into multiple teams and you're in like zone 3, there's going to be a lot of AoE. So bringing in Koharu can help your team stay alive because that's a lot of AoE when you're all bunched together. So she could be a great asset to keep your team alive on your secondary and your third teams. Next up on the list, we do have Kotama. Kotama is a very good staple, does a lot of additional support with damage and increasing the damage of your characters. Very, very good. Very, very good. All right, and we need a little bit more healing. So in that A rank, we do have Ayane. Now, once again, I wouldn't really bring her if you have Koharu, because Koharu is going to help your secondary team. And I would not sub her up into an S rank because you're really not going to use her in the first squad because they're not going to be that close together except for in zone 2. But in zone 1, she's not going to get a lot of play. So I wouldn't worry too much about her, but she's great to sub in there for a secondary team. All right, now we're getting down into sketchy territory. I'm going to start slapping a few more up here a little bit quicker, but these are the characters that you'll bring in when you want to supplement a little bit more, or your third squad, or you're missing some in your secondary squad. Hoshino can help you out a lot here with tanking some hits, healing, as well as that. You might also want to think about if you're going in with your third squad, you can actually bring in Tsubaki and probably Hoshino at the same time, because they're going to stay alive for a decent amount of time with little bits of healing. Another one that would be good is Nonomi, but unfortunately Nonomi is not going to be good for your EX skill, but she does have that additional damage on extra large targets. Once again, we're getting towards that third squad that, you know, we're just hoping to push a couple bars over, right? Next up, we have on Junko. Junko, once again, an EX5 skill. It's not that great for Binah, but you're just trying to pump out some damage and you're trying to fit some stuff in there. All right, now we're going to be getting to the kind of the bottom of the barrel here, which is mainly we're going to start dipping into some of your red units. And I know we put a few red units up above, but if you're, like I said, if you're filling that squad, you're going to need to put them in there. On the C rank, you do have Aru. She's going to do a decent amount of damage, right, as you're trying to push over. She's only going to do that baseline damage and not that increased damage, right, because it's red to yellow, and that doesn't give you that increased damage. Next up on the list, we have, where's my Sari Cat? There she is. Sari Cat's going to help you a lot here, right? You can hit her 2 costs. If you ever built up from hero, she can help you out a lot. Aru might be built up for you, like I said, so that would be good. If you need to filter in anyone else, right, it'll get a little dicey. You're going to put Momoi in here, maybe, right? Not the AoE is not going to help you out, but you're just looking for damage at this point. Shinatsu would be a decent healer to go in here down the ranks too. And then you do have Yutaha. Now, Yutaha is pretty funny because if you're a new player, Yutaha would actually be pretty high on the listing because the turret can actually be the tank, but not for extreme and hardcore and really very hard, but for normal and normal. And there's a couple more you can throw up here, guys, right? So you have Samira that you can put in there, right? Would help you out a lot as well. I use her from time to time, but her auto attack damage not that great, but she does have defense, which could keep you alive. Shun, I'm going to throw there at the bottom of the barrel. And there's really not a whole lot more I'm going to throw there. And I think that's really going to be the tier list. Now, that was probably pretty long, guys, and hopefully this tier list can help you out. There's a few others down here on the list that you could actually sub in, but these are really the ideals that you're going to be looking for, especially in that S rank and especially in that A rank. All right, guys, I just wanted to go over my team comps real quick. Now, I do need to do some leveling, but a lot of my characters are pretty good to go, at least for my primary squad and maybe a little bit of my secondary squad. Also, I'm playing this on my phone, so if I'm looking down, that's why I'm doing that. Now, there's an empty spot here, so I did not pull for Chirino. This is where I would sub Chirino, and this would probably be the team I run with. Maybe. So I can either sub Iori in here. So there's a couple things I'm going to do. I'm either going to sub Iori in here, or I'm going to put Momoi in here just so Midori can do a little bit more damage with that dot. But if you're looking at my set, I have a feeling I'm going to have to bring 3 teams in. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to do extreme, but my secondary team, I wanted to have my primary attackers in there. I'll level up my Pina, but Pina and Iori are really going to be my primary DPSers on my secondary team. Zeus is going to bring that defense down a little bit to help out a little bit. Hane for some healing, Tsubaki for some more healing, and depending on how far you are, like if you somehow get to phase 3, you need to sub some of these around, right? So like you would need AoE healers here, right? So I'd probably sub out Tsubaki for Koharu. So taking her out of the mix right here, this is where you would see Koharu here, and you may have to run double healer because that third phase of Binah hurts really badly. And this is what my third team would kind of look like. And this is where I'd put more, maybe instead of Mashiro, I would probably put Ayane in here, right? And run double healer here as well, in order to just keep them alive to try and chip off that last little bit of damage. You're really pulling from the bottom of the barrel by the time you get to your 3rd and 4th squad. So your success rate may vary depending on that. So this is kind of some of the thought process. So obviously we do a lot of testing, a lot of mock battling. I'm sure I'll have a video coming out if I down extreme, but these are some of the squads that I'm thinking about doing. And if you pull Koharu, you'd be able to fit her very easily into your secondary team. And that's probably what I would do. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching the video. Once again, if you guys can, hit that subscribe button down below. hit that thumbs up button if you did like the video. And if you have any questions for me, hit them up down below. I'll try and answer them the best if I can. And let me know, are you going to attempt extreme? Are you going to do extreme? Or are you just going to do hardcore mode or very hard mode, which is perfectly fine. I don't think still a lot of people are going to down extreme, but this might be the first one. You let me know in the comments down below. I will see you guys on the next video. Peace out.